This is Prisma Lopez-Marin here in Ferdinand with our town manager, Chris James. Hello, town manager.
Hello, Prisma.
Thank you for having us. I know a couple of things went on in terms of the council meeting that happened here in Ferdinand, a town council meeting. One of them was regarding, which was last week?
Yes.
It was regarding the sewer rate. Can you tell us more about that?
I can, Prisma. At last Tuesday's town council meeting, council officially approved a rate increase for the wastewater department. It's a 31% increase, which translates into roughly $16 and change per 4,000 gallons of usage. That's how the rate was set. Our current rate is just a little under $51 a month based on 4,000 gallons of usage, so it will go up roughly $16. The bill, I believe the cycling process, it will be the bill received in December, payable in January is the time frame for that. So as best as I understood it, so January 10th's bill that is received at the end of December, that will be the first one with the increase on it. As was pointed out at Tuesday's meeting and at the previous couple of meetings where this was discussed, it had been 8 years since our last rate increase, which in one way is good because you're keeping your rate steady, but at the same time, the cost of operation of the plant, those costs, the materials and supplies, those go up. Those don't stay steady with everything else. There's always inflation and other factors boiled into that. That's part of the rate increase. And then also part of it is to help fund our drying beds and phosphorus project. We were fortunate enough to work with rural development. We're getting $940,000 in grant monies. Those don't have to be repaid, but there is a loan of about $1.12 million, even at a very low rate, that does have to be repaid, and that's where a portion of this rate increase will go to basically satisfying that debt over the next 40 years. It's a 40-year loan, again, just a shade over 2% interest. So it's a very good deal for us, but the loan has to be paid back, and so that was the driving force behind this rate increase, or at least the rate study, to determine how much of an increase it would be. The 31% number was actually the lower of the two options that were presented to us by our rate analysts, and council decided to go with the lesser of two evils, as it were. We're hopeful that folks understand that this isn't something we just decided to throw out this type of an increase, because that was not the reasoning for the council to do this, where we thought, well, let's just have a big increase. There's specific purpose to the dollars that will be raised with this increase. They did advise us to maybe not wait 8 years before the next study, more like about a 3-year window, possibly 2 to 3 years before, when it's revisited again, and have smaller increases along the way so you don't get to a point where you have to put out such a large increase. That said, we're still in a pretty good position with our rate cost. If you compare it to like Evansville, they are seeing some tremendously high increases, and not just a one-time deal, but a big chunk this year. And I think again, over the next 2 to 3 years, they're seeing increases come about because of the cost of operating their facility. They're a lot bigger, but at the same time, because they're bigger, they have more users. The way the math goes, the proportionality, their rate should in some senses be comparable or even lower than ours. And they are much higher than us, and will continue to be so because of the expenses they're running through. But just want to let folks know again that this is, again, the first time in 8 years, and the council gave heavy consideration to it to make sure that we do what is right for the town. We realize there's going to be a sting financially, but again, that number is based on 4,000 gallons of usage. If you're an individual living by yourself, or maybe it's just you and your spouse, no children in the home, you use a lot less than that, so you have a lower rate. There'll still be an increase, but it wouldn't be quite as high. So you basically have to look at your bill and kind of math that in as you do your budgeting to figure out exactly or close to what your cost would be. And if folks have some questions about that, if they say, well, my bill right now is this, what will it be? come here to Town Hall, ask Bev or Angie. They'll be able to point you in the right direction. I don't know that we can sit down and say it's going to be X right now, but do some quick math on it. We could probably, either ourselves or working through our rate consultant, come up with an approximate number. So folks, at least from budgeting, they'll know it's going to be a little bit more, this much more on their utility bill when that starts up. But again, council gave heavy consideration to it, but it was something that needed to be done, both in terms of funding the wastewater project and then also just the operation of the facility. We thank folks in advance for their patience in this and dealing with it. We've really received very little public comment on it, which based on the number was a surprise, but at the same time, we're giving a lot of the credit to our residents, realizing it has been a lengthy period of time since there had been an increase, and the way the world runs, the costs of things never really stay the same. There's always increases, maybe a handful of cents here or $1 there on different things that you buy. It's the same way with operating our utilities, whether it's the wastewater plant or the water department or the electric department. The materials they use are the same, but the prices always change, and it never is really a case of where the price goes down. It always goes up. That's the way of the world, unfortunately. So we have to kind of account for that as well. So again, basically appreciate the residents being patient with us and being understanding at this time, and I'm sure we'll probably get questions once it actually hits the bill, and we'll explain it as best we can to folks why we did it and when, and go from there. And hopefully there won't be too much heartburn in the community about it when the bills actually do start to come in.
I was wondering, when exactly would this be put forth? Like, when will people officially know when they have to start paying this?
The way the cycle was explained at our meeting on last Tuesday, I believe it will be the bill, the increase that kicks in with our December bill. It's for the period of time studied in December. That bill will come at the very end of December. It's due on the 10th of January. That would be, if I understood correctly, that will be the first bill in which the increase will be seen. So your bill, obviously the November bill has already been paid. The December bill will be coming later this month. That's technically the November bill. That'll be coming, that'll be on our current rate. And then with the next cycle of metering, that's when the increase will come into effect. You'll see it in the bill you get in December, and then that's payable in January. And then that will be the normal course of action from there on out.
And I'm sure the community will understand, just as you said, the world does change, and in terms of that change comes progress. And one of the progressive things that are happening here is the community grant that is being used currently with the paving that is about to happen.
A lot of the paving actually has taken place. The time frame, we were figuring the first part of this week, J.H. Rudolph was able to get in with multiple crews. The midpoint of last week did the milling work on Wednesday and Thursday. Actually got a couple of segments paved Thursday and did a lot of work Friday. And then they were finishing up, I believe, a section of Vienna Street or Vienna Drive today in front of the Forest Park High School in that area. And then there was one other segment on County Road 285 East. They had done an initial paving, and then Rudolph wasn't happy with how the pavement looked, something with the mix. They are in the process of milling out some of those sections and applying a fresh coat in that area. So most of the paving will be done today, possibly tomorrow if there's some last touches that they need to do. And because the weather has been as un-November-like as it has been, we're finally starting here the last few days feeling more of that nip in the air that you expect to get in October. Usually the asphalt plants are closed down by now because of the cold weather moving in. And so they've been able to extend their paving season here into the middle of the month. I would not expect them to be doing a lot more activity once these projects here in Ferdinand, I believe Huntingburg's doing a lot of paving. Once those are done, that's probably going to wrap up their year. But we're grateful for Mother Nature for allowing the weather to be as nice as it has been so they could get out and do these things. And I know we're continuing with our work on our Virginia Street project with the sidewalks connecting 5th Street Park to 18th Street. Schwerings have been working very busy down at 5th Street Park, extending the curb and guttering along that stretch of basically the parking lot area at the utility complex in the park. They've got most of the curb poured now, and they still need to get the sidewalk part in. Again, the weather's been beneficial to that as well, but again, we're starting to see that change in temperature, so that work's going to slow up as well.
Yeah.
But they've been working very busy to get those projects in and get as much of that done while the weather allows. Then we can kind of regroup over the winter and take care of winter-related projects. I know all the departments have to go in and start doing their inventory for the end of the year, and then just prepping the machinery and things for the cold weather, specifically the street department, because they're the ones that do most of the snow plowing and the spreading of salt and things. But they'll be getting in and testing that machinery, getting things hooked up, make sure everything functions properly before the real winter weather sets into us. So, which, depending on what you follow from the almanac or the weather person or the woolly worms or the persimmons, is to explain what kind of winter we'll have. Just kind of take it day by day and hope for sunshine and no snow and deal from there. But we'll see what Mother Nature has for us over the winter time. But the paving is moving along well, and want to, as we kind of wrap up, want to encourage everyone to come into town this weekend. It's the 19th Chris Kindlemart celebration. They've been working feverishly in anticipation of this weekend. It's a lot of hurry up and wait work because the facilities they use are used for other things in their quote-unquote day jobs, as it were.
Yeah.
But they'll be prepping the YMCA, different locations at Ferdinand Elementary School, the old gym at the high school, I believe the American Legion, lots of places, 6 different sites through town. They've got 200 or so booths. And there is going to be thousands of people coming into town. They'll start with Chris Kindlemart Eve Friday night. I don't know if there are any tables or seats left for the dinner after that. Contact Sisters of St. Benedict for details on that. But then Saturday and Sunday, Chris Kindlemart throughout town. The electric department, they'll be hanging our Christmas decorations this week to really bring the spirit of the season in. Thanks to our elves who've decorated the front of town hall over the weekend with the wreaths and Christmas decorations. So we encourage folks to come to Ferdinand for Chris Kindlemart this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun, lots of gifting ideas. For basically anybody on the Prisma Christmas list.
Yes.
You can find something for each person. Lots of great food at the different spots as well, so you can literally spend all day, eat here, sit down, watch the Glockenspiel performance, go into other activities, and just make a weekend of it here in Ferdinand.
And I was told that there are trolleys and
Yes.
to take you to all these places so that you can go shop.
There's a couple of spots designated through town. They were busy over the weekend getting the signage up, arrows pointing, market site here, parking there, getting folks ready for it. So instead of waiting until Friday to do it, they did it last weekend. The weather was good. Nothing's going to change in terms of which way a sign needs to go, so they can get that stuff in advance, put it together. I think they're going to have some more signage out toward the interstate to try to direct some of the big rig traffic around on the bypass road. Not that they can't come through town, but because of the amount of traffic in Ferdinand, especially on Saturday, we're going to try to do our due diligence and help out the shoppers and the truck drivers to give everybody the best driving experience as possible. I mean, it's going to be crazy busy anyway, but try to scale back on the craziness part of it a little bit. So, but kudos to the tourism team in Ferdinand, Chris Kindlemart folks, to putting it all together. And year 19 is going to be great, and I think next year they're going to really pull out all the stops for their 20th anniversary event.
Well, we look forward to this year. Absolutely. There will be a lot of people out there trying to buy their stuff for Christmas.
Yes.
Thank you for letting us know about this.
Well, happy to do it.
And thank you for joining us here on our Conversations on Monday.